It seems as though Barcelona finally have a project that looks solid. Hansi Flick's made a good start to the season by winning his first 4 matches, with tough games against Athletic Club and Valencia included. We analyse what's going right for Barcelona right now and predict what Barcelona can win in Flick's debut season. Alright, let's talk about Barcelona then. It feels a while since we've been talking about Barcelona doing well, and that is a big change because we're used to seeing a Barcelona side who are one of the better sides in the Liga, who are one of the top sides in Europe. Yet that hasn't been the case for a couple of years now. This season have started really positively. We're going to talk about today what their prospects are this season, just how far they're going to go in European competitions, and whether they can win La Liga. So let's talk about their start to the season then. First 4 fixtures, 12 points from a possible 12. Perfect start.
Yeah, they've looked absolutely brilliant, and Hansi Flick has got this Barcelona side playing some very, very nice football. They've looked comfortable in every game they've played, and it's refreshing to see Barcelona starting fast. Every player has looked really sharp. Everyone's got involved, and that's the main thing for me as well, is that the team is playing well. There's not one striker or one attacker that's getting all the goals. The whole, everyone in the front four has got a contribution already. They're firing. They've looked pretty solid at the back. Very, very exciting start for Barcelona.
Yeah, there's a lot of positive signs, and again, we've spoken about quite a lot over the last few weeks about how if you've got a good team, bringing in a manager who will implement a simple enough structure will work because you've got good players. And for a lot of elite sides, they try and overcomplicate it because they want to be Pep Guardiola. But actually bringing in a manager who will implement some structure, who will bring in his system and make it work, for me, I think that is how you should do it in an elite level. And Barcelona look really good for it. League table, they're 4 points already clear of Real Madrid. That's really crucial. Madrid have been a force in the league of the last few years, and yet it's not working at the moment. Even the Betis game they won last night was a very fortunate victory. They couldn't break Betis down. Then Mbappe scored a brace and they're all right. But so far, Real have shipped too many goals, aren't creative enough, and while they're in a bad run of form, Barca have got to run with it. They've got to take the advantage, and they are at the moment. 4 points clear, as I say. They've got 10 goal difference, or plus 10 goal difference to Real Madrid's plus 7. A lot of that is because of the 7 goals they put past Real Valladolid, admittedly, but that's a really positive start. And a lot of it will say, well, Barcelona, top of the league at the moment, but is that an overperformance? Not really. If you look at the expected performance versus the reality, 12.59 expected goals, and they've put 13 in the back of the net. 3.43 expected goals against, they've only conceded 3. 10.24 points, and they've got 12 points. So it's very marginal, that difference. They're pretty much in line at the moment with expectations. Perhaps they should have drawn one of the games they won 2-1. But so far they've looked good. And as you say, a lot of different goal scorers we can see on the graphic. First 4 matches, 4 wins. 2-1 against away at Valencia, 2-1 at home to Athletic Club, 2-1 away at Rayo Vallecano, and then a 7-0 home win against Real Valladolid on Saturday night. Really positive start. I think the highlights in there, the fact is those first 2 matches were really difficult games.
Yeah.
They're games against opposition who are really strong in Valencia and Athletic Club, yet Barca look good in them. Yeah. And they won those games. And good start.
Yeah, it's very promising. They've played tough sides, they've played less difficult sides, and they've performed well in either. And I think the stats and what we've seen prove that this clearly can carry on for Barcelona. That is the main thing. Yes, we're only 4 games in, but there is proof here that this Barcelona side does not look like stopping anytime soon. They're in an absolute flow. They're putting up incredible numbers, and they're punishing Real Madrid, who it has to be made clear their drop of points have been at sides that they should be beating. Drawing to Mallorca, drawing to Las Palmas, they're dropping points at sides that they should be thrashing really. And that's very promising for Barcelona, because it does mean for Real Madrid, when they play the tougher sides, it's going to get even more tougher. For Barcelona, they've played those tougher sides, they've proven they can beat them, and things are looking very positive.
Yeah, and of course we can't count out Atletico Madrid, but they've also had a bit of an up and down start to the season. Julian Alvarez, their new marquee signing, hasn't exactly hit the ground running yet. But so to build a 4-point gap to both Real and Atleti is really strong for Barcelona, and it gives them a good foundation from which to build the rest of the season off of. Let's look then at how they're setting up. So this is their most recent lineup in the game against Real Valladolid, a 4-2-3-1. Perhaps the most interesting thing about this is the diversion to a double pivot, because it's something we've not really seen at Barcelona. Barcelona are famed for a midfield 3 with a single pivot and then 2 more creative players. And while Pedri is a very creative player, and while Casado as well is a creative player, it's much more of a double pivot, and that's an interesting tactical thing. It's very different from what Xavi was doing. I think the most integral thing to Flick's success is what's different to what Xavi got wrong. What he's bringing in that Xavi didn't. Let's talk about Flick, experienced coach. He's brought structure to this exciting squad. They're doing very well. I think the most interesting thing of what he's managed to do so far is get the fans back on side on play with regard to some of the players.
Yeah.
Because, well, the examples I'm going to use, Jokunde and Rafinha, two players who are very much ostracised by the fans in last season.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people were frustrated by their performances. Rafinha got injured. He couldn't then get back into the side with Lamine Yamal coming through. And Kunze at right back, he was playing a position he wasn't really suited to, yet he's worked out in that role now. And Rafinha has come in, he's now playing on the left wing. Because they're using inside forwards, he can cut in rather than be that out-and-out winger. And this is the first major difference, is Xavi loved touchline wingers. He likes using wingers to make the pitch really wide. And Flick doesn't. Flick loves his wingers to come inside. And the most interesting thing is those central combinations, because you've got the two wingers coming inside, Rafinha and Yamal, you've got Olmo in there, you've got Lewandowski, sometimes Pedri pushing up. So many players crammed into this central area. And it means they're making a lot of central contributions. It also means they're penetrating defences a lot through central areas.
Yeah.
And that is the most dangerous place to do it, because you are directly in on goal.
Yeah.
So it's working out at the moment.
And that's the thing, you then look back at what Flick did at Bayern, and he had the same thing, Sané, Gnabry, Müller, Lewandowski, all of them just coming in centrally and causing problems. And I mean, Lewandowski put up 40, 50 goals a season doing that, and he's,
I don't think there's any reason he can't do that still.
He's on a goal a game at the moment, which is phenomenal. He got to 25 last season, I think, or something around there. So we're hoping to better that, but it's the numbers that we're seeing from the team all round. I think Dani Olmo, you mentioned in there, he has been a brilliant signing. What a great deal.
Barcelona didn't have any money to spend this summer. They managed to get in for 55 million.
They did. They found some.
Business.
And I think that's the problem with Barcelona, is that they won a league title 2 years ago, but everything over the last 2 years that has happened off the pitch with, whatever's going off the pitch with money or whatever, I feel like has plagued what happens on the pitch. And for once, we're actually now talking about the performances rather than the board members and the club, because of what Flick is doing. He is turning it around on the pitch. He is showing that maybe Barcelona can can go for the La Liga title once again.
Yes, the tactics are very similar to what he's used at Bayern before. Lots of positional flexibility, which I think is really useful. They're a very wide back four, and I think that's very much helping in them being able to link up more. Xavi loved a narrow back line, and they kept getting caught out in the same sort of areas. The double pivot as well has a lot of freedom of movement. What you notice is they don't just stand there; they're not stagnant. Whereas a lot of because Xavi's team just played a very rigid 3-2-4-1 type shape, like Pep, but without much movement, it meant that it was way too predictable in build-up.
Yeah.
But what Flick is doing differently with this double pivot is that movement. And at times you'll see a player, usually, it was Marc Bernal, obviously he got injured, really horrible injuries, out for the season, which is a real shame, because he was coming into his own. And now we see Marc Casado, who isn't perhaps best suited to the role, but he is working in it.
Yeah.
Occasionally you'll see them drop between the centre halves in build-up to create more space. Sometimes you'll see them stay, but Pedri push forwards, and then that will create a more traditional Barcelona midfield three, and again cramming those attacking areas, those central areas. It's really useful to see, and I think that by doing that, by having this positional flexibility, it means that they're very unpredictable.
Yeah.
You don't really know what they're going to do. So, yeah, very interesting to see. Obviously, we've spoken about those narrow wingers, both Rafinha and Yamal coming inside, and it's just very difficult to stop at the moment. Barcelona have definitely, I think, surprised a lot of teams by the way they're playing. The other thing they like to do, and this can leave them a little bit open defensively, and we're going to talk about some of the concerns with regards to their tactics in a moment, but is overloads. They love rushing players forward. So you see all these central players, all these players come centrally to allow for the wing backs to bomb forwards. And that's a big difference again from what we saw last season. They have these numerical overloads in central areas with so many players there. It makes it very difficult to mark. You consider a lot of top teams will go player for player. You can't do that against a side that everyone's standing in central areas, or everyone's coming into central areas. So Yeah, they're very dangerous at the moment. Barcelona, as I say, they're getting through central areas, and that is much more dangerous.
Yeah, and I think, it's high risk, high reward. It's very, very dangerous, but it also causes major problems. But I think the main takeaway from all the positives that Flick has done is he's done everything that Xavi didn't. He's just taken what Xavi did and done the complete opposite of that. And clearly, it's bringing results to Barcelona, and that's exactly what they need. It's a good start. They've built on a good start, and Flick has clearly set them up very well. However, we could see some problems develop with the way that Flick wants to play.
Yeah, I mean, at Bayern Munich when they won the league, they scored 99 goals, and that was his only full season, I think, because he came halfway through his first season and left halfway through his third. It was a very short but sweet time with a sextuple win in the middle, but. Yeah, they are. He does build very good attacking sides. However, defensively, Barcelona have been a little bit open, and again, Bayern's sextuple winning team were the second highest conceding title winners of the top 5 leagues. So of history, I think. So they conceded a lot of goals that season. I think they're about 1.5 per game, which is a lot of goals to concede. And I think Barca have already shown a bit of a openness defensively. They've conceded in all but one of their games so far, which is fine if they're going to score 2 goals a game every game, but it does leave them a little bit open. I think against elite sides they may struggle in transition. We saw in pre-season Manchester City managed to open them up quite easily because I know it's Man City, but Barcelona have only 2 players back. So if they lose the ball in attacking areas, then everyone's got to sprint back. If not, you're completely lost in transition. So that does create a bit of an issue at times. Yeah,
I think it is risky, and as you say, against top sides, I think in the Champions League, against the bigger sides in the Liga, we may see some problems, and Flick might have to adapt. But I kind of like it. I like the commitment to the kind of we're going to score one more than you mantra, really, and it is that. But Flick clearly believes in every single game that they will just outscore their opposition. He isn't here for clean sheet stats. He isn't here to get the most defensive blocks. He wants goals, and he wants loads of them. And if they can score enough goals, they will win every game. If they outscore their opponent in every game, they'll win the league.
Yeah,
simple as that.
They're going to win every match, so they'll be fine. But yeah, I would be surprised if they played that way against Real. I'd be surprised if they played that way in the Champions League. I think they will tone it down a little bit. I also think the lack of depth could be a bit of an issue at the moment for Barcelona. They don't really have anyone on the bench. Because of the number, they've got a few injuries. I think Ronald Araujo's still coming back from an injury. Obviously now Marc Bernal is out injured. And because they have no money, they don't really have many players. No. And I think if you lose a Lamine Yamal, or an Olmo, or a Pedri, they are very light on numbers. Especially, Gavi's also another one still out injured. It's just because they don't have many players, they have to overplay players. Yeah. And then when they get injured, they throw a youngster in, they overplay them, then they get injured. We're seeing it now with Marc Bernal because they never replaced Busquets. De Jong is still injured. Is another one. Barca's injury is so long because they keep doing the same thing. They don't rotate people. They just go, well, this player's going to play, and we'll keep playing him. Oh, we've run him into the ground. Now let's throw in another La Masia talent until these people come back from injury. Yeah. We've not seen Gavi now since the turn of the year. No. To be fair, I think it was about February he got injured. We've not seen De Jong in ages. We've not seen Ronald Araujo in ages because they keep picking up injuries because they keep playing every single minute. Barca have got to get better at rotating players. And I know Ferran Torres look good off the bench, to be fair, so they should be able to rotate in attacking areas. But the same front three that started all 4 matches so far, they've got to get better at rotating, especially with a big fixture list with extended Champions League matches, with them hoping to make a run at both cups this year. For me, they've got to rotate more.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully Flick will do so because, as you say, injuries, but, and I think the other thing is either they're really young talents who are very new to see elite football, which is going to be you're going to need to adjust to that fitness level. But also Lewandowski's 36. He cannot start every single game this season up front. He will get injured or he will tire. He will fatigue at some point in the season. He needs someone to just rotate with him a little bit. Equally, he's on a goal a game, so maybe they're not going to.
Well, where do they send their 2 rotation strikers? They sold one to Chelsea for nothing. And they've loaned out Vitor Roque. So
good stuff.
What are they doing in that position? We don't know. But yeah, I don't really get what Barcelona at the moment on the bench. They don't have many players because they don't have any money to go and buy players. Let's talk about what they can achieve this season then. I've highlighted some key dates for them. The next big one, Wednesday 23rd of October, Barcelona versus Bayern Munich. Now normally you would just go, this is a big game. Fun big game. But there's added weight to this. The fact that Hansi Flick's Bayern side put 7 past Barcelona in 2020. The fact that Hansi Flick was the Bayern manager and is now the Barcelona manager adds weight to the occasion as well. I think there will be a lot of eyes on this game, and rightfully so. Flick will want to beat his former side. Bayern will want to get revenge for that 7-0. It's going to be interesting, and I think this is as good a time as ever to get that revenge. Bayern haven't looked phenomenal.
Pressure on Company.
They've looked okay, but they haven't looked phenomenal. Company, I don't think is an elite level manager. I've been saying that for months now. So it's a good time to beat them. They also have that game 4 days before the first Clásico of the season. The El Clásico on the 27th. They play Real Madrid away. Huge game.
Massive.
Huge game. And obviously, it will depend a lot on the context going into it. Are they going to be still ahead of Real Madrid going into that game? Will they have slipped off? They'll be hoping they'll still be ahead because they've built that 4-point gap now. If they let that slip between now and the end of October, I think they'll be really disappointed.
Yeah.
They then play Atletico Madrid in December, which is their first meeting between those two sides. And then they play them again in March. The Spanish Cup final, obviously the Super Cup in January, but Spanish Cup final is Sunday the 27th of April. Then in the midweek, either the 6th or 7th, is that Champions League semi-final second leg. Now the reason that's so crucial is because they play Real Madrid for a second time 4 days later at the Camp Nou. So going to be interesting there, because if they are in the hunt for titles this season, for Champions Leagues, for Cups, it's going to strain their schedule, and they would have to play those Champions League semi-finals second legs, which are huge games, just before the Real Madrid one. Yeah. The other thought is Real Madrid probably going to be in the Champions League semi-finals.
Yes. So
you may have an advantage if in the league if Barca aren't there. What do you think Barca can win this season?
I think that's an interesting one. I think the league is interesting. I think you're talking about that second Real game. The objective for Barcelona would to be more than 3 points clear of them going into that game. And then even if they do lose that, they're still top
That's
of
a
the
long
league.
way away. I think they'll have more short-term objectives.
Well, yeah, not now, but thinking about it, I think the Champions League's probably not, because I think, I would say Real. I think Real in the Champions League are different because they don't need consistency in the Champions League. They just need Mbappe and Vinicius and Bellingham to score goals and win the game. Yeah. I think City obviously look ridiculous. I mean, Bayern, I'm not putting in the equation because I don't rate Company.
PSG?
No. They don't have Mbappe. They have
structure though.
They do have structure.
They do look good under Enrique. They've got a manager and they don't have. Their tactic isn't just Mbappe anymore.
Yeah.
They do play some defensive football. They do attack well.
Yeah. Basically, I don't think Arsenal. I don't think Barcelona are my favourites of the Champions League.
Another one that could be difficult.
They could be. Spanish Cup again. I think they could win everything domestically.
Barca need silverware this year.
Yes.
That's got to be the paramount objective. How they get there will be interesting, but I think there's a lot to be positive about for Barcelona. So. The other thing with depth is they can always just find another 17-year-old in their academy who's going to be very good. I think, again, Flick's done well by continuing the integration of La Masia talents. The fact Bernal and Casado have both come in and done well. Obviously, continuing to play Lamine Yamal, Alejandro Balde, Pau Kubasi.
Yeah.
They're all brilliant players. So, I think that Barca are in a good position. They're playing well. They've got to keep the good times rolling. They've got an international break here. They've just got to sit in a prayer circle and hope Lamine Yamal doesn't get injured, or Lewandowski, or any of the other top talents, and then come back after that and keep rolling. They play Girona next, I believe, which is a toughie. Tough fixture because Girona were a good side last season. I know they've fallen off a little bit, but they've still got Michel. They've still got some top players. Yeah. It's going to be a tough match.
It is. But if Barcelona win that just further proves that they are on for a really good year.
Very true. They've got Girona, then Villarreal, another tough one. They're up there in the league at the moment. I believe they are fourth, very decent team.
Yeah.
Then Getafe, obviously a big one. They'll be hoping just to keep the wins coming. Then Osasuna, then they're into Champions League. Then Alaves, they're winnable games. The next 5, they should be coming out of. They should be looking at like 9-10 games with perfect points. So, they'll be annoyed, I think, if they slip up over the next 5 because they should win them. In fact, other than Sevilla and Villarreal, they've got a really nice run up until Real Madrid on the 27th.
Yes.
Like, they should win every game between now, and other than potentially Sevilla, potentially. But well, actually, Sevilla have been terrible this season, so unless they have some huge recovery, I don't really see how they bounce back. But yeah, tough season for them. Good season for Barcelona. They've looked very good. I think they're in a great position to potentially win the league. So yeah, exciting times ahead. But that, I think, is everything for today's video. A nice roundup on Barcelona. We've spoken only about the Premier League this season, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. If you want to keep watching our content, there's a video on screen now, probably our one from Monday where we spoke about Casemiro and whether he's finished at the top level, so go and check that out. But that is everything from us today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.